a lot of people have asked me the question, how do I get faster by going slower? I've heard that question a lot.
That's a great question.
That's not actually what we're talking about, but I do want to hear your thoughts on that standpoint and how do you respond to people? Because I think it's a very valid question because logically it would make sense. I want to get faster. I got to run faster. You know, even if you tell them the 80-20 rule or something like that and you say, hey, just make 80% of your runs significantly slower, it still brings that kind of anxiety of like, I'm not going to achieve my goal because I'm not pushing myself and I'm not able to run faster. So what do you tell people?
Add some like Strava jealousy on there too, and that can make things really bad.
Yeah. And it's especially when someone's preparing for a race as well. A lot of them sort of respect the 80-20 rule. People sort of know the 80-20 rule and they have a marathon that's in 6 weeks and they kind of unconsciously like just run a little bit faster on their easy days, a little bit faster on their slow days. And, you know, it then pushes an 80-20 to 50-50 without them realizing. And I did an episode with my sister actually, because she was getting so many injuries year by year, not really seeing any progress in her training. And I asked her, like, how are you feeling on your easy days when you run? She's like, oh, my legs are burning. You know, I'm feeling out of breath. I'm sweating, like, and all of these sort of stress signals. And I'm like, I told you, you know, 80% of your running needs to be really low intensity. And she said, oh no, but I can't run any slower. Like compared to everyone else, like this is a slow run. And we found out that her running, she was comparing her slow run to everyone else's slow run. And her body was telling her that's a pretty high intensity. And how I like to tell people, you know, you on your easy days, it should feel quite effortless. You know, I use an RPE out of 10. And I usually say it's hovering around a 3 or a 4, and it's really not hard. You should complete that run and feel like you have the ability to do it all over again. You should just feel super fresh, and that's 80% of your training. And it just doesn't fit for most people. And so I talked to my sister, and she made this change. She really reduced her intensity, and not only did she start getting faster because her legs were fresher on the running days where she was meant to pick up speed, but she actually started enjoying running a lot more. It wasn't a slog to like, you know, push through this intensity or like, oh, I have to do another run today. It was actually she was enjoying the process. And the 80-20 balance is designed to make sure that the bulk of your training, because if you can build up mileage successfully, if you build from 20 miles to 40 miles to 60 miles, if you can do that successfully, you're becoming a significantly better runner. No matter how fast you're running, the more mileage you have behind you, the better you're going to be able to perform. There's studies to show, like, you know, the base mileage and weekly mileage, if you can accumulate that, it's so advantageous to race day. But it's so much safer to do that. We're talking about overtrain, under recovery. It's so much safer to build up that amount of mileage if most of it is really low intensity. And so that's how you kind of need to tackle it. But then again, you can be fresh. It leaves you fresh for your faster days. So you start getting better PBs. Your quality of your running starts improving. And I had so many people listen to that episode with my sister and reach out and say, I was running too fast. And look, and I've made that adjustment and now I'm actually getting faster. So I'm really enjoying running, and I'm enjoying that 80-20 ratio because I'm seeing the benefits that it has.
Yeah.
The biggest and the hardest lesson I had with this is right before I left for PT school. Actually, when I had just come home from finishing university, I was in Portland, Oregon, which I was very lucky is like a huge mecca of running. And that summer, I got to spend some time training with a bunch of 208 and 209 Kenyan and Ethiopian guys who really changed my view on what an easy day was. Because obviously coming from the U.S. college system, and I'd be curious to know from Australia and elsewhere, generally easy days were still somewhat hard, right? We always had this number, I want to be under 7-minute pace for the whole run. I want to be able to do this and that. We'd be running at 9-10 minute pace the entire time. It's like, I just didn't understand enough at that point why. And these guys run sub 5-minute miles for a marathon. Like, why are we doing this? But then it quickly became apparent when they dropped me incredibly easy on the hard days that all the focus going, everything we do on these easy days is to prep for those harder days. Whether it was a longer run, a faster run, every other day was, it's not worth killing ourselves. We need to recover enough to make sure that this day is as quality as possible, because this is where I get faster and not necessarily on these other days. And that's a hard lesson. It's still something I struggle with because I still have the Strava and the GPS watch. I'm like, oh my gosh. But like you mentioned earlier, it's that balance of stress and recovery that helps you get faster, not how fast you're going on easy days.
Going back to the injury questions, how can you know when those innocent little niggles transition into something a bit more serious? Because sometimes you might have something that pops up and just goes away immediately, and every runner's had that happen. How do you know? What are those signs?